I wanted to come up with a, I guess, more interesting way to talk about movies, since, walking around a random city in China while talking about movies, it's not a very good, sequitur, I guess. They don't have much in common. I mean, walking around in China, some people might think it's interesting to see a, town in China, but every other video I make, it's just me walking around Haitian, talking, usually about China. But since this isn't about China, I'm just going to play a game while I talk instead. Because, like I said, talking about movies, not China. This year, I've seen 3 movies. Been to the movies 3 times. That's a better way to put it. No, that's not a better way to put it. Yeah, I've seen 3 movies. I've been to the movies 5 times. I went to see The Force Awakens 3 times with 3 different groups of people. I went to Zootopia while I was here in China. And I went to Batman v Superman. I don't know why they can't just say VS Superman. Dawn of Justice while I was here in China. Both in English. I paid for one, I didn't pay for the other. Yeah, I'll come to that later. I'm going to start with, of course, the one that I saw the most of, which is, Star Wars. First of all, I'd point out that Star Wars is not a big thing in China. It really isn't. A lot of people who saw it, that was their first movie. A lot of people went out and saw the originals and the prequels in preparation for watching The Force Awakens. So, with that in mind, I was kind of very interested to see what my students thought about the movie. They really liked it. I really liked it. I'm just going to get this right out of the way. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I'm a huge Star Trek fan. I think both of them have different strengths and different faults, though. And I don't like to form opinions of movies right after I see them, so I usually like to sit on it for a while. I think I've sat on the Force Awakens lineup to formulate a rudimentary opinion on it. It is easily my 3rd favorite Star Wars movie. That's saying a lot, too. I would probably consider it maybe the 2nd or 3rd best Star Wars movie. If you haven't seen the movie, by the way, I'm not going to do a lot of spoilers, and I'll warn you if I do a spoiler. As far as favorite Star Wars movies goes, Empire is still my favorite, and I still argue the best made out of the movies. There's just so little wrong with the movie. I really can't think of anything wrong with the movie itself. I can think of certain things wrong with people's response to the movie. But the movie itself, again, really can't find a fault in it. Is everything perfect? No, absolutely not. And it probably suffered more from the George Lucas remake more than any other portion of it, but I'm not going to get into that. My 2nd favorite Star Wars movie is Revenge of the Sith. And yes, I am saying I like Revenge of the Sith more than Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi has some huge problems with it. It's still a very good movie, and when you consider when it was made, it's still a groundbreaking movie. And I still consider it a very good movie. I just don't like it as much as some people. Mainly because of Ewoks. But anyways, I would argue that The Force Awakens is a better put-together movie than Return of the Jedi. Or really any other movie except for Empire Strikes Back. Does that make it a more enjoyable movie than the others? That's a matter of taste. And the thing is that The Force Awakens basically, here's the spoiler, the one spoiler for the whole, movie, is if you've seen A New Hope, You've basically seen The Force Awakens. It is, again, going back to that cyclical storytelling element of Star Wars, that everything seems to be repeating itself, with only the individuals we're watching there to change anything. That being said, they did change things in the movie, and they changed it enough that I enjoyed it. Um, some people, one person put it that it did have spoilers. It did have things you didn't expect in the movie, but it was all the things you expected to not expect, if that makes any sense. There are things I could spoil for you, but when you see them, you'd be like, oh, okay, or you see them coming earlier in the movie. It's still very good. And the thing is that it avoids all of the things that make A New Hope less than enjoyable for me. The New Hope is still a good... For its time, it's a good movie. It ages worse than other movies for me. By modern standards, I would not call it a good movie. I would not call it a bad movie, though. The mistakes it comes by, I think it comes by very earnestly for when it was made, and considering it is the first, major blockbuster. Star Wars kind of invented the sci-fi blockbuster. It really did. The Force Awakens basically avoids every mistake that A New Hope did for me. And like most Star Wars movies, makes mistakes of its own, although very few. And that's the thing is, most of the problems with The Force Awakens are not mistakes, they're just choices you may or may not like. Overall, everything changed about it, I thoroughly enjoyed. Does that mean that they were necessarily good choices to change? Not necessarily. Or that everybody's going to enjoy them? Definitely not. I pretty much knew going in that a lot of Star Wars fans would be displeased with The Force Awakens, but I kind of knew that, going in, that really nothing, God damn that guy, that really nothing anyone, made for a Star Wars movie was going to please all Star Wars fans, or even the majority of Star Wars fans. Come on. So really, for the most part, I knew that there were going to be a lot of displeased Star Wars fans. It was better than I could have hoped. We'll put it that way. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. If you didn't, that's fine. But so far, I've only found one or two really, I guess... Yeah, I'm going to say valid, because feelings are not always valid. You can dislike something just because it didn't sit with you well. I've only really felt one or two really valid criticisms of the movie. Now, by the way, I'm going to get into spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie and don't want it ruined, don't watch any further. Yes, the storyline is heavily dependent on A New Hope, which I do not like. I don't like A New Hope. A New Hope, its problems are almost insurmountable for me, is just the only way to put it. The movie changes up enough that I'm very pleased with it. It relies on cyclical storytelling enough that I kind of am fine with that cyclical storytelling. And most importantly, it avoids every single one of the mistakes that make A New Hope thoroughly unenjoyable for me. Rey is not annoying in the least, as opposed to, Luke. And bless Mark Hamill, he is literally my favorite part of that movie series. one of my favorite people just whenever I see him do something, but Luke is really insufferably annoying in that movie. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with an insufferably annoying character. If that were the only problem, I would be fine with the movie. Han is subpar likable. I mean, I get that some people would like him. Uh, I don't like him. Um, Princess Leia is pretty aggravatingly annoying in the movie, which again, I love Carrie Fisher, but yeah, what do you want me to say? She's annoying in that movie. It's not Carrie Fisher's fault. I think George Lucas wanted something that didn't go through, and he learned from the mistake in the later movies, which I'm, good for him. Well done. The storytelling element in the movie is a little forced. They clearly kind of knew where they were going with the movie. A New Hope, I'm being awfully hard on it. It's not not a bad movie. I don't particularly enjoy it as much as a lot of people. That being said, I think it was handicapped from the start because despite what George Lucas has tried to claim in the past, and then I think given up on claiming at a certain point, was that he really actually didn't know where he was going with the storyline in Star Wars. He once claimed that Darth Vader meant Dark Father in Dutch. No, it doesn't. Vader means father, I believe, but Darth means nothing. Literally nothing. That was a meh round for a PvP round. The characters in The Force Awakens are either, I'll say this, for what you get of them, I like them. I like Finn for what we get. He's not a perfect character. He's not supposed to be. None of them are supposed to be. I like what we get of Poe. Harrison Ford does very well. Harrison Ford is a very good stand-in for Alec Guinness, in that he doesn't try to be Obi-Wan while still effectively filling that role. Do I think all the characters work in their entirety in the movie? No. Kylo Ren, the elephant in the room. I really like the design of the character. Even after the movie, I don't even mind the stupid lightsaber design. It worked how I thought it would work. While not functional, it's not nearly as unfunctional as most people thought it was going to be, and they clearly put some thought into how you would use it. I don't know. The thing is at the end of the movie, I really wanted to know more than anything else the story behind Kylo Ren and Rey, and I think that's how the movie was intended to leave you. But therein lies the point. The first movie is supposed to leave you wanting to see the other movies. A New Hope, of course, wasn't meant to do that because they didn't know they were getting any more movies. So it had to be an encapsulated movie, which it was. I think it suffered a little for me because of that. Phantom Menace really... People give Phantom Menace a lot of shit. I actually consider it basically as good as A New Hope, in that it made its own terrible mistakes. I can actually watch Phantom Menace more than A New Hope. I actually argue A New Hope is probably a better made movie. But yeah, The Force Awakens, it definitely left me wanting to see more of what was going on. There's a lot of stuff I want to know after watching The Force Awakens. I want to know who Max von Sydow character was. I want to know who the tiny alien with the big eyes, like, so they're very small eyes, with the giant goggles. I want to know how she fits in here. I want to know what the fuck Luke is doing on an island in Scotland. That's an island in Scotland, in case nobody knows, complete with ruins and whatnot. Um, but yeah, no, I definitely want to see the next movie. That is something the Phantom Menace did not necessarily do for me, and New Hope did not do for me, but that's really unfair because it wasn't meant to do that. So, yeah, if I had to 1 to 7 best slash worst Star Wars movie, or best or least favorite to most favorite Star Wars movie, um, hmm, yeah, no, Attack of the Clones is definitely my least favorite Star Wars movie. Um, A New Hope probably second, and yeah, I know that sounds terrible, but sorry. Um, it's hard to think of them all now that there are 7. Um, no, we'll go favorite to least favorite. That'll take less time. Um, Empire Strikes Back is still my favorite. Revenge of the Sith is easily my second favorite. Return of the Jedi, third favorite. Or not Return of the Jedi. Force Awakens, third favorite. Return of the Jedi, fourth favorite. Um, Fifth favorite. This is gonna be like the Seven Dwarves, isn't it? I'm gonna keep forgetting one. Um, fifth favorite, Phantom Menace. Sixth favorite, New Hope. Seventh favorite, easily, Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones is, I argue, almost unwatchable. Um, uh, Best to worst movie, because that's a completely different discussion to be had. Um, the best made and put together movie is, still, I argue, uh, The Empire Strikes Back. Um, Probably followed by, with time allowance again. Um, Probably the Empire, or Return of the Jedi. Um, I would still probably argue, uh, The Force Awakens, and then the rest of them in no specific order, because I'm not gonna think about them that much. Um, but therein kind of lies my point. Is, yes, this is a well-made movie. Yes, it is enjoyable to watch. Most of the people who I met that just legitimately hated this movie, I feel like nothing was going to please them. Um, Most, if not all of them, were critical of things that were never going to be the way they wanted, or were very angry that the expanded universe isn't a thing anymore, or it didn't turn out the way they wanted. And to my answer, well, tough shit. The expanded universe was never canon. Um, Never, ever. Shut up. Um, really, if that's your complaint, shut up. You're not really actually a fan of Star Wars. You're a fan of fan fictions of Star Wars, which is fine. But those books and those stories, they still exist. You can still go get them. A lot of them are still in print. I have most of them in book format. Um, but they were never canon. It doesn't make them any more or less enjoyable. That's just not where the makers of the movies chose to go, and it was never where they were going to choose to go. If that's what you were hoping for, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but you were always going to be disappointed. And that's the end of my rant.